Hello and welcome to An Old Man Watches, and today I'm going to be talking about the 2001 CGI animated feature Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, which is quite a mouthful. The film is set in 2065, so these days only about 40 years away, and Earth has been infested by alien life forms known as phantoms. Phantoms, through physical contact with a living creature, can consume the spirit of that living creature, killing them instantly, although a minor contact may only result in an infection rather than instant death. The surviving humans live in barrier cities, which are protected by energy shields that phantoms can't pass through. They can pass through most physical objects, but not these energy shields. And of course, humanity is engaged in an ongoing struggle to free the planet. Scientist Archie Ross, herself infected by a phantom during an earlier encounter, takes quite extreme risks in her pursuit of a means to defeat the alien invaders. But the recklessness of her actions bear off. She discovers 8 special spirits, unique energy patterns contained by various life forms that can, together, negate the phantoms. Finding some of those spirits is what has allowed Archie to survive her infection to date. But to defeat them, she's going to need all 8. Unfortunately, while Archie searches for the remaining spirits, there are other people pushing for a more direct and potentially devastating solution. The mighty Zeus Cannon, which can in theory destroy the phantoms, but which might also destroy the Earth at the same time. Can Archie and her allies find the final spirits in time to save the planet? So, this film was directed by Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of the popular Final Fantasy franchise of computer games. I don't know that there's any real connection between the movie and the games, apart from the title, but I can see why they would use that title, given his involvement. And it was a very ambitious project for its time, the first photorealistic computer-animated feature film. Which was a considerable technical ambition, and which caused it to greatly exceed its original budget toward the end of making the film. It ultimately cost about $137 million US in 2001 terms, which is about 200 million in today's money. The film proved a significant financial failure and has been blamed for the demise of production company Square Pictures, which was the movie-making arm of the producers of the Final Fantasy computer games. And look, I can see why it failed. It's definitely not a flawless film. So let's talk about what does and does not work in The Spirits Within. So the first fully CGI feature-length animation was Toy Story, and it was, in its time, a very ambitious project. But in one important respect, it was deliberately unambitious. The folks at Pixar were aware of the then limitations on CGI, especially a certain plasticity to the character designs, and so they deliberately framed their story around toys because they knew that would minimize the problem. You can't really complain about characters looking plastic when they are actually made of plastic. They kept their human characters in the film to an absolute minimum because technology just wasn't at the stage where it could do human characters justice. It'd be 6 more years before this film came out, pioneering photorealistic human characters and motion capture animation. And I think for the time in which it was made, The Spirits Within is a tremendous technical achievement. I mean, sure, now, looking back at it, you can see that they did take some shortcuts. Many of the minor characters wear helmets, for instance, which conceal their faces, making them easier to animate. And only one major cast member, Archie Ross herself, has hair that is too long to be rendered as a solid mass. But these shortcuts don't really detract from the film's overall visual ambition and the impressiveness with which it delivers on them. It was certainly absolutely the movie's big selling point when it was released, that it was photorealistic CGI. Now, 2 decades have gone by since then, and those self-same visuals are a lot less impressive today than they once were. So if you're sitting down to watch it for the first time, The Spirits Within probably won't have the same visual wow factor that it once did. Still, it's definitely a factor of the production that I don't think should be overlooked. It is the film's strongest element and clearly something that they spent a lot of time and effort getting right. Now, as previously mentioned, that ambition drove up production costs, but I suspect that the filmmakers' casting decisions also contributed to the escalating financial burden. The voice cast of this movie includes Alec Baldwin, Steve Buscemi, Ming-Na Wen, Ving Rhames, Donald Sutherland, and James Woods. And look, Disney and Pixar had been rolling out a fair bit of voice acting star power ever since 1992's Aladdin. You just have to look at the voice cast of The Lion King, or for that matter, Toy Story itself. So, perhaps the producers of this movie felt like they had to do likewise to complete. I don't agree. I don't believe that casting big-name actors to do voice roles actually has much impact on a film's success, unless the big name actually delivers something truly exceptional. I mean, Robin Williams was obviously the pioneer of the big-name actor doing voice acting in a Disney film to a certain extent, and his performance transformed expectations about who could do voice acting and who would do voice acting. But he brought a very particular set of skills to the table. I'm not actually that big a fan of Aladdin, but a lot of people love Williams' performance in it. But not all big-name actors can do that. Voice acting is not the same discipline as on-screen performance. There's some overlap, obviously, but they definitely emphasize different techniques, styles, and skills. And while I've enjoyed other work from all of the actors that I named earlier, I can't really point to any of them as being especially good or memorable in this role. Now, they certainly don't detract from the film. I want to make that clear. They're all perfectly adequate. But I do think that the big names were an expense it didn't need, which compounded to the financial risk of the project and contributed to the film's status as a box office bomb. But then we get to the film's real weakness, which is the script. It has some major pacing issues. The first 25 minutes or so are pretty exposition heavy and rather slow, with the dramatic action sequences that are included in it not really being as tense as the movie evidently wants them to be. Still, I think overall the section does do a fairly good job of setting the scene, and the film then quite successfully shifts up a gear, giving us a strong second act where everything goes to hell for the characters and there are giant monsters chomping on people left, right and centre. There's a real sense of desperation and menace, and that almost everyone is genuinely at risk. The film did not, however, ever convince me that Archie Ross herself was in any real danger, and after this flourish of intensity, I think it's fair to say that the script largely runs out of steam. It limps home over the remaining 40 minutes or so, with a very dialogue-heavy final act that simply doesn't sustain the gravitas or tension to which it aspires. Ultimately, I think The Spirits Within is a visually impressive film, but narratively it is not up to the same standard. It's mainly a movie for people who are either big animation or science fiction nerds, or, like me, a bit of both. Next time, it's October, and Halloween is fast approaching. I'm not only going to do horror movies this month, but I am going to look at several of them in the coming weeks, starting with the 2005 offering Feast. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.